Why, hi there. I'm Ron Juckett, and this is the DoDCast Postgame show for the third day of September 2017. The headline I wrote for just for giggles a couple hours ago was Stymied in Brewtown, and yes, the Washington Nationals did not look good today. In fact, they gave one of the most least inspiring performances you'll ever see from a championship caliber team, but they still are a championship caliber team. The only good news is Ryan Zimmerman crushed his 30th of the year, his first 30 home run season since 2009. Yes. Come here, Sarah. No, come here. You got your voice on. Here, come here. No. Come here. Come here. And so if they're not going to win, well, at least show you the light. No, come here. How are you, Sarah? This is my wife, Sarah. This is my better half of the show.
Boring.
And it pretty much is boring. And that was okay. Thank you, Sarah. So
I gotta go make shepherd pie.
all right, she's gonna go make dinner. Since you heard her voice, you get the interruption. Anyway, where was I? Yes, the final score was 7-2, and I lost the lone viewer that I had. It was just not a pretty game today. Let's go through the totals. For the Nats, who fall to 82 and 54, 2 runs on 3 hits. In fact, Ryan Zimmerman had 2 of them. He had a single early on in the first and a home run in the 9th. No errors for Washington today. No, they go, as I said, 82 and 30 and 54. Miami goes to 72 and 65. Jeremy Jeffers comes in and gets the win. He pitched 2 scoreless innings. In fact, at one point, I believe the Brewers didn't allow the Brewers bullpen had to get 18 outs, and I don't believe they gave up a hit for the first. Let me take a look. It was the 9th. It was the only hit allowed by the bullpen was the 2-run shot by Zim. That's pretty impressive. For the Brewers, 7 runs, 7 hits, no errors. They go to 72 and 65. Jeffers with a win. Edwin Jackson with a loss. He goes to 5 and 4. I believe that 1, 2, 3, 5. Oh, the Brewers only had 2 singles today. They had 7 hits, but they had 5 of those were extra base hits. In fact, so here's the line. Edwin Jackson goes 5 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs. 4 earned. He walked 1, struck out 5, gave up the 2 home runs to Santana, who crushed the first one off the scoreboard in left center. His ERA goes to 3.62. Romero, inning and a third, a hit allowed. He walked 1, struck out 2 in his first appearance back. He threw 30 pitches, 18 strikes. Austin Adams, he did finally get some outs today. His ERA goes from infinity to 18. That's pretty good. He gave up a hit, 2 runs, 1 earned. He walked 2, didn't strike out anybody. He had 1 first pitch strike. He is just so wild. He faced 6 batters and just had the 1 first pitch strike. He threw 27 pitches and 16 for strikes. Romero, 30 for 18, and Jackson, 95 for 63. So all in all, just not a very good performance by the Washington Nationals today as they lose 7-2. It was a completely flat performance by the Nats, and it just showed all the way through. They couldn't get anything going. They didn't strike out as much as they did before, although they did whiff 11 times today to go on top of the 17 they did on Friday. So they stranded 3, and they went 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The good news is that Matt Wieters should return for the opener of the Miami series. He probably will pitch to he probably will catch Eric Finney, who Right now, it's TVA for tomorrow with Strasburg pitching on Tuesday and Gio on Wednesday down in Miami. Just kind of they're going to go with the 6 starters, apparently for a little bit anyway. If you're worried about October based on this weekend, really don't be. I mean, they had periods where they've looked tired before, and this was the case to me where they just looked tired. They did some experimenting. Sometimes it worked, other times it doesn't. And, that's going to happen over the course of 162 games. They played 136. They've got 24 more to go. And, overall, they're in very good shape. Remember, Miami lost today in 12 innings to Philly 3-1. So the magic number slides to 12. So there really isn't any harm in the loss. Do the Brewers get good news out of this? Yes, they do, because Atlanta beat the Cubs today 5-1. So a big win for Milwaukee. And they took 3 out of 4, and they win the season series against the Nationals 4-3. Other games of note in Major League Baseball today, Pittsburgh actually came back to beat Pittsburgh is on a tear again. They beat Cincinnati 3-1. We told you that the Marlins lost to Philadelphia 3-1. Atlanta beat Chicago 5-1. The Tigers were swept by the Indians 11-1. Cleveland is just on fire right now as they try to put the American League Central away. Toronto and Baltimore are tied at 4 in the 12th. Houston leads the Mets 8-6 in the bottom of the 8th. Big game in Colorado. Arizona leads 4-1 in the top of the 6th. St. Louis keeping their faint playoff hopes alive, 2-1 over San Francisco in the 4th. And the Dodgers are down again to San Diego, 1-0 in the top of the 2nd. It's early. San Diego swept a doubleheader from them yesterday. Their winning percentage is now under 700. Horrors for sure. All right, no one wants to chat, so let's go to the minor league scoreboard today. Games in progress. Altoona leads Harrisburg 3-2 in the top of the 9th. Everyone pretty much finishes tomorrow in the minor leagues except for short season A-ball Auburn. Potomac and Frederick, part of a doubleheader. Frederick leads 8-4 in the 4th inning. Reitz, though, has 2 homers for Potomac. That's pretty. Has a homer for Potomac, his 2nd of the year. Tonight, Buffalo and Syracuse. Sims pitching for Syracuse, 2-4 in the year with a 5.63 ERA. Second game of the Harrisburg-Altoona doubleheader. Austin Voth goes for Harrisburg, 3-3 with a 4.84 ERA. Potomac and Frederick in a doubleheader. Game 2 coming up after the first one. Williams goes tonight, 2-4 in the year with a 4.24 ERA. Austin and State College. Tatro goes for Auburn. He's 2-1 with a 2.12 ERA. That game starts at 6:05. Finals from earlier today. Hagerstown beat Lexington 4-3 in a full game. Banks with his 7th homer of the year. DeRosier goes to 3-4 with a 3.60 ERA. And Klabatsis picks up his first save. Playoffs in the GCL semifinals. The Nats win 4-0 over the Twins. They hold the Gulf Coast League Twins to 5 runs. So other things of note. Today was Roddy Reed's major league debut. He defensively isn't all that great. Really was kind of lost catching Austin Adams. I'm not going to say he settled in. He was almost as wild as he was in his first game. He got some outs, and he throws hard, but he doesn't throw strikes. I haven't really watched him pitch in the minors to know. His numbers down in Syracuse were fantastic, but they have yet to translate at a major league level. And if you're going to go and pitch in the major leagues, you have to establish the strike zone, and that's something that he has not done. Someone asked me about Wander Suero. I would imagine with Syracuse's season ending tomorrow that people like Pedro Severino and Wander Suero would get the call-up, but Suero is not on the 40-man roster at the moment. The only 2 that have not been called up, I believe, are Voth, and who's pitching today in that doubleheader in the minors, and Jose Marmoleos. and I'm not sure. So everyone else who's on the 40 has been called up at some point this year. I think you'd want to call up Swirl just to see what you could see. And our good friend Alex Yalen was talking about whether or not you call up Victor Rojas Robles at this point, just to see, what can he do? Bring some excitement, bring some youth into there. The con of that, if they're, the pro is his youth, but the con of that is it starts his clock for arbitration. And I'm not sure the Nats want to do that. But it also, how much playing time is he going to get? You have a lot of people, especially if Goodwin comes back, who are going to be fighting for those 3 outfield spots. I don't really want to bring him up if he's just going to sit on the bench. Stevenson's going to come back up. Diaz is still with the team. If there's a place for him to actually get some meaningful at-bats and not just pinch hit in the 9th inning of a blowout game, then go for it. But you don't want to do that unless there is a definitive role for him. Otherwise, just kind of forget this weekend ever happened. The Nats lose 3-4 to the Brewers. They will go to Miami, and Miami lost to Philadelphia today, as I said, 3-1. So if the Nats sweep again, remember the Nats swept last week, the magic number could be as low as 6 by the time that the Nats head home to face the Phillies for 4 over next weekend. So really, it's distressing. And yes, as I said on Twitter, I believe this was my 69th game of the year as actually live tweeting, and this really was the worst effort I've seen so far. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't change anything. It really doesn't change anything. This team is still going to win the division. They're still going to have the second best record in the National League, and players will get it figured out by the end of the year. Question is, do we get some good news on Bryce Harper at least soon? Has he at least started to do some running? And will he actually play in some games before the end of the regular season? Because, boy, do they miss his offense. But remember, no Jason Worth today. I know that Ricky Keeler is going to do something on Daniel Murphy's slump. He struck out again today and was frustrated. I think that particularly Murphy and Rendon are exhausted. They've played a lot of baseball, had to carry the load through all these injuries. I think Zim to some degree, but you have Adam Lind. And so it's just time to get some of these infielders some days off. You know that Kendrick can play second. You could throw Defoe pretty much anywhere. You know what? Defoe didn't look terrible in right field today. I do want to say, though, that his bunt, as Turner was trying to steal in the first, really killed the offense. Turner was going to steal second easily, and if Defoe would laid off, he would have had the chance to bring Turner home with nobody on or nobody out and a runner on second. Instead, they both are retired, and then the Nats kind of struggled after that. They couldn't get that first run home. But look, you have weekends where it all works, and you have weekends where nothing works, and nothing worked this weekend. It happens. And when you hold a substantial lead like the Nats do, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Be frustrated because they could have looked a lot better, but there are a couple people tweet at me, this is why reminds me way too much of October. Why? Because your fifth starter got beat up. I mean, Jackson isn't starting a playoff game. If the Brewers happen to pass the Cubs, Jackson isn't starting a game in that series. It wasn't great. I don't want to sugarcoat it. It wasn't great, but it's not gut wrenching in that sense. It was way too flat, and they have another week before they have an off day. So if it doesn't rain, if Irma doesn't make its way up the coast, all right. Considering that it's me, myself, and I in here, what did we do today? Drew did a piece on Steven Strasburg and why last week was great. And then I did a piece that's pretty much explaining why the 6-man rotation the Nats are about to go in is doing pretty well. Tomorrow I'll have the 5 storylines for the Marlins, and Ricky will talk about the slumping Daniel Murphy and what he can do. If you're actually watching this video, give it a like and subscribe. We'd love that here on YouTube. Let's see, Facebook. Give us a like on Facebook. We always like that. Post stuff. Twitter, we do every game, win or lose. And today wasn't much fun, but we still did it anyway. That's at District on Deck. And of course, districtondeck.com. For Ricky Keeler and the rest of the staff at District on Deck, I'm Ron Juckett. Be safe the rest of this Labor Day weekend. I will be with you tomorrow night for the opener of the Nats and the Marlins. Good night.